I think the death of Nodar Kumarashvili is going to be, in one sense, the legacy of these games. The Winter Games were careening towards something like this. The track was faster than it should have been. I think it was the responsibility of both Olympic officials, organizing officials, and the Federation, Luge Federation, to know that. And yet, life does go on, and so as saddened as people were, and perhaps less nobly, as quickly as some people dodged responsibility for it, everyone understood it's time for the games to go forward. Giovanni Rochette is probably will be one of the most memorable, because everyone understands the notion of loss, and then to come back out just days after a tragedy like that, it's the lesson that you hope kids learn, that life does go on, and not only goes on, but can possibly get better if you're devoted and you're ready for that moment. One of the things that's most interesting about the whole Canadian psyche is how polite the natives are, and when they found out they were going to host these games, they came up with a slogan called Own the Podium. It looked early on like that was going to be a disaster. They made a wonderful surge in the final week, took over the lead in gold medals, and were able to get something for their money. As important as hockey is in this country, women's hockey is almost as important as the men's game. Wonderfully, at the end of it, women who had sacrificed 15 years of their lives, put their careers on hold, put families on hold, came out afterwards carrying bottles of champagne, magnums of beer, cigars, and some of them even had sunglasses, had a wonderful little celebration on the ice that apparently got the IOC people a little uptight.
You know, being able to stand on the podium with these guys again was pretty awesome.
The reason that Apollo Anton Ono became the most decorated Winter Olympian in U.S. history just speaks to his dedication. And here's a guy that's not really very big, and yet was able to take his lumps, was able to come back and compete in 3 different games, and really showed himself to be not just, an endurance athlete, but also a very tough one. And that's a nice tribute to a guy that could pile up medals that way.
Russia is contributing in a major way to the success of the Olympic Games and Olympism in general.
Russia could not have been much more disappointing. Dmitry Medvedev, the president, said he was going to go home, maybe not even attend the closing ceremonies, although he's supposed to take control of the Olympic torch now. It's going to be interesting to see whether they can recover in time to really put together what we consider the traditionally formidable Russian team 4 years down the road. I think ultimately you've got to say Vancouver did a pretty good job in handling this. They knew that the weather was going to be dicey. It always is up here at this time of the year. The city itself could not be any more cosmopolitan. The people could not have been any more enthused. Every night was a street party worthy of New Orleans. They were a little bit embarrassed by some of the slip-ups that you can really trace back to the organizing committee, but in that sort of traditional Canadian way, they handled everything with a little bit of grace and some style.